So in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to break the rules in your guitar solos. So when it comes to breaking the rules in your guitar solos, first, we have to know what the rules are, right? So most people kind of know when they learn how to play guitar solos, what are the rules? First, you kind of get taught, hey, use scales for your guitar solos. And if you'll notice here, well, we're going to be using an F sharp minor backing track for this lesson. And on this diagram on the screen, we have the notes from the F sharp minor scale written out, the F sharp natural minor scale, actually, which happens to be the same notes as the A major scale, by the way. So a lot of people just get taught, okay, well, the rules are just play notes from the scale, right? And life is going to be good. But then you realize that just randomly playing notes from the scale isn't quite cutting it, because sometimes stuff doesn't sound great. So then the next rule you kind of learn how to follow is to target chord tones and use the arpeggios of the actual chords in the progression you're playing on. So for example, if I'm playing over an F sharp minor chord, I'm kind of singling out those notes that you see there on the screen, which are the green notes. And those green notes are green because guess what? Those are the chord tones. So if you notice, all of the F sharps, the A's, and the C's on the diagram there are all green because I know if I'm playing over an F sharp minor chord, all of those notes are going to sound good. Let me actually just give you an example of that. So here's our F sharp minor chord. And I'm going to play any of those green notes. And I know that all of those notes are going to sound good because they're literally part of the chord, right? So those are the kinds of rules. It's basically, hey, let's stick to the notes that sound good, right? Because the notes that are not included in this are not going to sound good, right? They're not in key or they're not in the chords, right? So we're going to see, though, how we're going to break the rules. So breaking the rules now, step one is, well, we should know what the rules are, right? Because if we don't even know what the rules are, well, how the hell do we know we're breaking the rules, right? How do we know what rules we are breaking and not breaking if we don't know what the rules are? We're just, kind of using our ears. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, your ear is the guide. And that's what we're going to be talking about in a second. So step two is that if we do want to break the rules, let's say I want to use some of the notes that are not in this diagram that you see here, okay? I can actually use all of those notes. For example, like over here in the second string, you got E, and then you got F sharp, you got G sharp, right? Well, what about all these like little spaces underneath here, in between rather, not underneath? These notes. Well, guess what? I can use those notes, but there's a couple other things I want to keep in mind when I use those notes, okay? So let's see what happens if I start using some of those notes in between the E and the F sharp, and in between the F sharp and the G sharp in this key. Okay, well that note, right? It kind of sounds like it's definitely breaking the rules, right? What about this one, the G? Ugh, those notes kind of sound nasty, right? And if I kind of just play them and go like, that doesn't sound very good, right? So I'm breaking the rules, but it doesn't sound good. I don't want to do that. So rule number two of breaking the rules is break the rules with good rhythm, okay? So if I play those notes, I can make it work if I have good rhythm that locks into this track I'm playing over. So like, so you see there, it works because I'm playing good rhythm. So I'm breaking the rules of the notes, but there's another rule that I ain't breaking, which is the rule of playing good rhythm, right? So that actually, just in and of itself, to me, that's the most important element of breaking the rules is when we do break the rules and play notes that clash with the key or clash with the chord we're playing over. Let's make sure that we follow just one other rule, which is that, hey, the rule is that you have to play with good rhythm, right? So, last thing, number 3, is when we break the rules, we want to go back to following the rules. So if you notice, a lot of times when I played those notes that were not fitting with the diagram that you see here on the screen, the last note that I played would be one of the notes that does fit in the diagram on the screen, particularly one of those green notes, the chord tone. So if I make sure I'm playing in rhythm, and then make sure that at the end of the whole thing, I kind of come back home and end up on one of those chord tones. You could end up on one of those notes that's not in the chord, and it could work. It might not work. That's the thing about that. It might still sound a little bit dissonant. Like, for example, in this F sharp minor chord, the D note is going to kind of sound dissonant. And we'll play that one so you can hear what it sounds like. But basically, it's breaking the rules and then going back to following the rules. As long as at some point you go back, it all works. So let's see what this sounds like now. We'll play over the F sharp minor chord, and I'm going to literally allow myself to use any note that I want. Okay? I'm going to try to get a little bit crazy, but I'm going to make sure my last note that I play is going to end up being one of those green notes that you see. There, I just almost played every wrong note in the book. All the wrong notes, but it had good rhythm, and I ended up, boom, landing on, that's an F sharp note there. This is an A, and this is a C sharp. Any of those notes, if I just highlight one of those in my mind, hey, I want to land on that note after I play whatever the heck notes I want, it'll end up sounding good in all likelihood. So, I want to just show you a couple of other cool ways to kind of make like a little pattern with breaking the rules. So, what I like to do is something called an enclosure. So for example, let's pick one of these chord tones. Let's pick actually this A here on the 5th fret of the 1st string. So if I play that A, I can play either of the notes that's right next to the A, and just make sure I land on that A at the end of the thing. And honestly, I don't even care what those notes are that are next to A. It doesn't really matter what those notes are next to A, because I know I'm going to end up landing on A, which is a chord tone. Let's see what that sounds like. And again, I'm playing real solid 16th notes with the right hand. I could do the same thing with another chord tone. Here's a C sharp here. So that's just a cool little strategy too, besides just kind of randomly playing wrong notes and breaking the rules, is to actually find those chord tones and then practice playing all the wrong notes that are like right next to the chord tone and then landing back on the chord tone. And that'll really teach you too to, again, be able to go back to, quote, following the rules once you're kind of done breaking the rules. So now this is all well and good to do this over just one chord like this, but ideally we should be able to do this through a chord progression. So we're going to go down here And now we're going to listen to the full backing track, which is, yeah, it's in the key of F sharp minor. However, actually, the backing track is going to be going to a B minor chord, which is in the key of F sharp minor also. So when we switch to the B minor chord, we need to kind of reorient ourselves. So to speak, the rules are kind of going to change. So look, I'm going to put on now on the screen, boom. All you see now is the exact same notes that we were looking at before. It's actually still the F sharp minor scale. However, now there's different notes that are green in the thing. So the notes that are green are the notes from the B minor chord. And if you notice here on the left-hand side, here is all of the notes in the F sharp minor scale on the top with the chord tones circled, F sharp, A, and C. So I'm aware of what those chord tones are. And then the B minor chord, it's actually the same notes. Didn't change any notes. Just rearranged them starting from a B note, because now we're thinking in a sort of a different world here where B is our 1. So we have to reorient our thinking a little bit. So let's listen to here with a B minor chord. So now it's a different chord. So now we have our chord tones are B, D, and F sharp. But I can still play all the same scale notes. So I can do the same thing. I'm gonna break the rules now. Make sure I'm playing good rhythm, and I'll land on one of those B's, D's, or F sharps. Even there, that starts to get a little bit wild, just like holding one of those notes for several times in a row. So there, I literally just played over and over, sometimes the same wrong note, like 4 times in a row. Da 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 da. But I just kept going until, boom, I landed on one of those chord tones. So now we need to know what it's going to sound like when it's actually switching. So you got to kind of get those two worlds in your head. This particular backing track only has 2 chords in it, but when we're playing over, any chord progression has more chords. Every time the chord changes, we kind of have to be aware of how the rules change so that we can break the rules and then we can go back to following the rules. So I land in a chord tone. Chord tone. Chord tone. Broke the rules and landed on a chord tone. 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 Chord tone. Chord tone. So, you see, first of all, I mean, that's just like so much fun, right? When you have the freedom to be able to literally play whatever notes you want, and always have the confidence that you can go back after breaking the rules is one of the most powerful things you can have as a guitar soloist. So if you want to learn how to master the guitar fretboard so that you can learn all of the different, quote, rules that there are when it comes to playing in any key and any chord and knowing where those chord tones are so that you can freely break the rules and figure out how to get back to the rules, make sure you head on over to Jamsville.com right now and check out the Jamsville GPS Fretboard Fundamentals course. And by the way, if you're watching this video right when it came out, we are doing a Black Friday sale. That is right. We are doing a Black Friday sale for 50% off the course. So the course is only going to be $35 with the Black Friday sale. This is such a ridiculous deal. I hope that you're watching it right when the video comes out, because if you're watching it after Thanksgiving weekend, the course's sale is gone. So make sure you take advantage of the sale right now and pick up your copy of the Jamsville GPS Fretboard Fundamentals course. Also, make sure you check in the description to get your awesome Jamsville merch, which is gonna just keep you playing guitar in style. Also, check the link in the description for my favorite guitar picks, the Dan's Guitar Store Precision Pick. They have the best grip and the best tip for playing awesome guitar solos that I've ever used. Make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button so you never miss any videos, and until next time, listen, learn, and jam.